Sean Cole with OKRAW.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. Coming at you from our beautiful backyard garden here in December. This is a rant style video. I was talking to a new friend the other day, trying to help her coach her on eating healthfully after getting out of an eating disorder, which happens a lot in the raw foods movement. Two of my ex-girlfriends did have eating disorders, both of which are unfortunately no longer on the planet. One because of the eating disorder and one because of a head-on car collision. So when you're driving out there, be careful and don't drive little compact cars that are unsafe should you get in a head-on collision. Nonetheless, this is a serious topic for me, and I'm a guy that likes to research things. I'm kind of like the different guy. I'm not like a normal person, in my opinion. I've been raised a little bit different, think a little bit different, and for better or for worse, I am who I am. And I want maybe just a little bit of me to rub off on you, because I see there is a lot of confusion, unfortunately, out there in the world, in social media. I can't dispel all the confusion about all different topics, but I can dispel the confusion about raw vegan health and just general health topics, because I've looked up a lot of the science for my own opinions and beliefs and experiences, and have seen and observed the experiences of many others over the nearly 30 years now I've been on a raw, vegan, plant-based style diet, when I am minimally processing my foods and eating high nutrient quality foods. Anyways, this episode I'm going to get into the truth and lies of the raw vegan diet and just in general in social media. Because I know there's a lot, you guys follow me, so I thank you for following me. I would like to think that you're a bit smarter than, most people that just follow the most popular kid, because I'm definitely not the most popular kid. But I believe I have good, solid information, and I do this not to make money, but I do this to basically help thy fellow man, because my life was saved because I made major dietary changes when I was younger, and this is my form of giving back and sharing what I've learned with you, so that you literally don't get the wool pulled over your eyes, or if you're vegan, the cotton pulled over your eyes when you are watching social media. Because that's a way that a lot of people, especially younger people, get their information and news, and unfortunately social media is not always the best source of accurate information. So here's the thing, guys, I want to show you guys, on social media, you really got to shake somebody up, man, and use exaggerated truths that are really actually, that in your mind you already think that can't be right, but then the social media influencer puts it out like it's the truth. He has confidence, or she has confidence that it is the truth, with a few reasons that sound good to you, and because you haven't looked these things up, you believe it. So for example, one of the common things that are out there in many carnivore circles, they'll basically say a statement, and the statement will have a truth and a mistruth in it. And then they'll basically just focus on the mistruth aspect and not really talk about the truth aspect of it. So for example, the example I will give is plants have anti-nutrients. That's a truth. And then if the whole statement is plants have anti-nutrients, you should never eat them, or they're going to kill you. So plants have anti-nutrients. I would say plants, including the ones behind me, my tree collards, have plant phytochemicals, which you could call phytonutrients, which, depending on how you look at it, an anti-nutrient is only an anti-nutrient depending on who is viewing it. From the plant's point of view, it doesn't have any freaking anti-nutrients. Everything this plant makes is for a specific purpose. So it makes chlorophyll so it can photosynthesize. It makes isothiocyanate so that when bugs eat it and the cell walls are broken up, and it creates isothiocyanates, and enzymatic reactions occur, and then the bugs don't want to eat it, right? And that's there for the plant's benefit, not our benefit. Meanwhile, greater things like bugs might think, oh, it's an anti-nutrient because when I eat it, it tastes bitter, and then I go to a different plant. So while it does have nutrients, whether it's good or bad is a judgment, and I think that's the really worst thing, is when you start judging things good or bad, clean or not clean eating. We put judgments good or bad. Who is it good or bad to? I guess the answers that I've learned over all these years is that it really depends. I've flip-flopped on some of my views on specific foods over the many years based on, people that I listen to, and then also based on research that I've looked up myself. Like cacao was one of those things that if you look at some of my long time ago videos, I was like really against cacao because I was selecting certain properties of the cacao that in excess quantities, I agree, are definitely not a good thing. But in small quantities could be actually quite health beneficial. So, you know, I don't want you guys to just listen to like people that just spout off like plants have antinutrients, therefore you should never eat them. Because on the same token, I've made videos where I show, links down below to some of these videos that I'm discussing, that the anti-nutrients in plants are actually what gives them their literally superpowers or makes them a superfood, because those are the nutrients in the plants that actually allow us to live even healthier and disease-free even. So if you neglect eating some of these plant anti-nutrients, you're not going to get the plant protection that the plant is offering, all right? So that's just running you guys through like one example. I'll give you guys another example that I've made another video about, going kind of more detailed. There's a raw vegan out there that says beans cause constipation and beans are the worst food on the planet to eat or something. I mean, people make all kinds of exaggerated claims, and these are what gets clicks and views so that people get popular, so that then they could then try to sell you their $89, $99 a year membership because you need them, because they're the expert and they need to be guided through a 40-day juice fast or whatever else it is. You know, and I just think it's quite sad that I don't know if they really actually believe the lies that they're sharing with people, or they haven't actually just, you know, fact-checked these things, because I have a video where I will fact-check that, and actually it's not true, and actually in this video I'll share with you guys how to fact-check. But, you know, while it is true that beans can cause constipation, John, you said it, beans could cause constipation. Yes, any food could cause constipation for any, you know, a certain person, right? Maybe there's a person that has already is constipated, and anything they eat is going to constipate them. So beans are constipating to that person. For an average normal person, right, based on the published scientific studies, population studies, beans are not constipating, right? So there's always a truth in a statement, and there's a myth truth in statements that are put out online, because everything is so nuanced. So you should not take things at face value. You should do a little bit more research to see, you know, what are the pros and cons, because to every different food on the planet, right, every different diet style on the planet, there are pros and cons. I've well researched the raw vegan diet, because that's the diet that I ate for most of my adult life, and you know, there's lots of pros to it. I really can't say much against it, except that it could be really limiting on the foods that you can't eat, because now if you're excluding all the foods that need to be heat processed to be eaten, you are eliminating a good percentage of plant foods. Now, could we live healthily without those heat processed foods? Yeah, we could live healthily to some extent. That being said, I will say I'm waiting to see long-lived raw vegans, because most raw vegans that I've seen and experienced over the many years, they tend not to live super long. Of course, there are few exceptions like Dr. Fred Bishi, but of course, he's not eating a traditional, like, high-fruit raw vegan diet, for example. So now I want to explain why these exaggerated statements that are shocking really work to really convince people to basically fall in line and to follow, and that they are accurate, because people say them with conviction, that they believe them to be true, that they got to be true because this guy is saying it. Well, you know, one thing I've learned in all my years on the planet is that people lie. It's quite unfortunate, and unfortunately to me, I mean, I see a lot of people that lie actually get ahead in life. You know, that's not the kind of world I want to live in, although that is the world that I live in. People just lie. It sucks, and unfortunately, it seems that our society rewards people that lie, and, you know, that's not really the world that I want to live in or create personally. Nonetheless, the thing is that what I've determined is that basically we live in a fear-based society. I mean, if you look at the news, it's fear-based, right? They want to scare you into doing something. And so when you hear something scary like beans cause constipation, oh, I don't want to have constipation, so I'm never going to eat beans again, is what goes on your head. You don't think, oh, is this accurate? Should I fact check this? You know, you just believe the person saying it. We've also been taught to literally trust authority figures, whether that's, you know, our teachers, the government, which authority figure we could put in question marks, you know, peace officers, you know, they always have our best interest in heart or mind, which I found is not always the case. Or influencers have our best interests at heart. which I also, in many cases, they have their own best interest at heart, unfortunately. But yeah, so we've basically been taught from society, from going to school, to following our teachers, to following people in authority positions, to basically fall in line and listen to what people say. So that's a reason why social media works. You listen to what people say, and you take it at face value, and you believe it, they have conviction. So the other part of this is that actually, while we are taught to follow, we're actually not taught to think for ourselves and be free thinkers. Fortunately enough for me, when I was in grade school, they did these tests in grade school, and somehow I was identified as what they would call at the time as gifted and talented, or mentally gifted minors was the program back then. That's probably not the best term these days to use or politically correct, but it was basically, I was in the gifted program, so I actually went off to a special class, when other kids were just in normal class, and then actually they taught us, because I was identified as this, gifted thing, as somebody to they taught us critical thinking skills, reasoning, not to believe authority, which was one of the greatest things that happened to me, and instrumental things that happened to me in my life, is being put in this program. So I always have thought a little bit different than most people, and I'm not just going to follow the leader and fall in line. And also, of course, my parents also, to some extent, taught me to think outside the box and not just fall in line as well. And I would also like you guys out there to be free thinkers. And I know birds of a feather flock together, so I know a lot of you guys already out there are free thinkers, but I always encourage everybody on my channels to basically push forward and to think about these things critically themselves and not just fall in line, not just follow the leader. Because what if the leader is leading you down the cliff, right, to getting an early heart attack? My opinion, in the case of people that eat 100% carnivore diet, there's no long-lived carnivores, or very few, if any. You're more likely to live a longer life, even if we look at the blue zones, which have not been debunked. That was a whole chamois study, but nonetheless, long-lived cultures haven't eaten all vegan. I will agree with that, but they have eaten a majority of whole plant foods, even if they eat small amounts of animal products. But nonetheless, I want you guys to be a free thinker who forms your beliefs, opinions, and values on reason and evidence and your own personal judgment. I want you to be curious, and I don't want you guys to be stuck in your current beliefs, because what if your current beliefs are not accurate? There's been a lot of things that I've learned when I was early into raw foods that kind of got drilled into my head, right? And later to learn that some of those things that got drilled in my head actually was not correct, not factual. And so I will say it has been a challenge to basically unlearn, or literally unbrainwash myself of some of the teachings that I've learned early on, because I have thought and lived my life for many years that they are accurate and correct, when in fact they were, once again, they had some truth, but then there was some mistruth in there, right? And so, my whole goal with my channel is to just tell it to you guys and share my story and my personal experience living this lifestyle. Whether you guys want to think I'm full of poop, which, I am full of poop because I go poop several times a day, but or whether you like what I'm doing, that's great. Hey, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below to support my channel. Maybe that'll help get the YouTube algorithm to notice it more and get this video pushed out to more people. So I want you guys to form your opinions, beliefs, and values on reason, evidence, and personal judgment. I think the biggest one there is evidence, because is evidence when a person just claims it to be true online. One of the things I've learned in life are words are cheap. Anybody could say anything. Oh, I love you. And then there's all these romance scammers taking $1,000 from unwitting older women and men or whatever, just because people believe the words. And I'm like, hey, show, don't tell. Very important. So that gets me to the next point I want to make, is I want you to double check the claims yourself, or listen to people that fact check them. I have an evidence-based YouTube channel where I show a lot of published studies, so I just don't share my personal opinion. In most cases, there's a few exceptions. My personal opinion also correlates with published science and facts that are out there that can be proven. But, I want you guys to do your own double checking. It is not hard. In the next part of this video, I'll show you guys how to do that yourself or follow people. There's, several YouTubers out there. Viva Longevity is one, that will fact check information that is put out there in the ethos so that you could actually just learn the real facts and cut through all the BS. All right, so the next part of this episode, what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and boot up the computer, and I'm going to show you guys how to fact check with like an AI, with ChatGPT, which is a favorite AI I use. I use actually the subscription model, which actually gives me access to a better AI model that's a bit more smarter and has better reasoning skills. But even if you don't have access to the high-end one like I do, you could use the free one on a phone or a laptop. So let's get into it right now. So now I want to show you guys how to dispel myths using ChatGPT. So you're just going to type in chatgpt.com and it's going to come up with, what can I help with? I'm actually logged into my account and I'm using the ChatGPT 01, although most people are going to get the GPT 4.0, which is great. I mean, either one, it doesn't matter. So then you're going to put the exaggerated claim in ChatGPT. For example, let's see, plants have anti-nutrients. Should I never eat them? And then, hopefully you guys can read, and then it thinks, and it says, many plant foods do contain naturally occurring compounds, often termed anti-nutrients. So that is true. And then it goes into what are anti-nutrients. So this way you can educate yourselves to know what they are instead of just being scared by influencers. And then, hey, straight up, phytates, phytic acid found in grains, legumes, nuts and seeds, oxalates, lectins, tannins. And then it says, in most cases, ChatGPT is fairly accurate. In some cases, it's actually not. It also depends on how you prompt it or what question you ask. But it says, do anti-nutrients pose a serious health risk? And it says, for most people, the level of anti-nutrients present in normal diet are not harmful. In fact, humans have evolved along these compounds and have developed various culinary techniques, like soaking, sprouting, fermenting, and cooking. This greatly reduces their levels and minimizes negative effects. This is exactly what I say in my anti-nutrient video. Duh! And then, are there benefits to anti-nutrients? Interestingly, some anti-nutrients have beneficial health properties. Should you avoid them completely? Most nutrition experts says there's no reason to completely avoid plant foods because of their anti-nutrient content. And then it goes into how you can reduce some of these anti-nutrients. Of course, then you could ask it like, are there exceptions? Are there people that should not consume anti-nutrients? And let's see what it says. For most healthy individuals, moderate consumption foods containing anti-nutrients is not only safe, but common and even beneficial with a balanced diet. Of course, there are people that have exceptions. So if you have an iron or zinc deficiency, you need to be mindful of high phytate foods. If you have kidney issues or kidney stones, right, then you need to watch out for oxalates. Most people have good functioning kidneys, so it's not a problem. So I mean, this is how you can use ChatGPT, right, to dispel the BS myths. Once again, it's fairly accurate. If you use the OI model, like 01 model, like I'm using, I tend to think it's a bit more accurate because I've started with like 3 and moved up, and I've seen it actually get better because it's a learning model. And then, okay, let's do another one that another raw vegan says. Does eating beans cause constipation? Let's see what it says. So you don't even got to go to like scholar.google.com, which is where I go to research beans and constipation. Beans are generally high in soluble and insoluble fiber, which typically help promote regular bowel movements rather than causing constipation. So how are people saying beans cause constipation when in fact the truth is that it adds bulk and can aid in preventing constipation? That being said, there is nuances, like I mentioned, to consider, right? If you have a sudden increase of fiber, you have not sufficient fluid intake, so you start eating beans and then you're not drinking enough water. Anything too dried and not eating high water content, that's why fresh fruits and vegetables are best. And of course, individual variations. Bottom line, beans are more likely to improve bowel regularity than cause constipation. So how do some of these raw vegan influencers get away with saying all these things that are straight up lies? How can they live with themselves? I don't really know, and that's not for me to judge. I'm just here to share with you guys how you can use ChatGPT to cut through the BS. All right, so the final thing I like to say in this video is that one of the things I've learned and observed, especially looking a lot of the science, looking at just living my life, is that life is often nuanced. That means, once again, things are not always black or white. There's always going to be shades of gray. A lot of statements out there may be mostly true, but there are going to be exceptions. So I want you guys always to think about, like, when you hear a statement, hey, are there exceptions to that? What are the exceptions, right? Do plants always contain anti-nutrients, and are they going to kill you? Well, I got a plant back there called chaya, and actually those plant anti-nutrients, if you just pick the chaya leaves and ate them raw, will kill you. Absolutely. They have cyanide, but if you steam them or boil them or cook them, it cooks off the cyanide, and then you could eat them safely. So, you know, it's not like every plant's out there to kill you. There's a lot of benefits to eating plants, and there's a lot of people in the raw foods movement and just general social media that are going to say things that are exaggerated claims, things that are not true, that are untrue, to try to sway you. And I don't want you guys to make any major dietary changes or any kind of changes because of simple statements you have heard online from influencers. Look up the science, look up other people that do fact checking, fact check these things yourself. I showed you guys how to do it in this video. Also work on becoming a free thinker and forming your own beliefs and opinions, and question what people say and don't just take it at face value. There's so much BS going on in the world, and my personal opinion is that there's a lot of people that are sharing untruths and mistruths and basically blatant lies to cajole you into doing what they want you to do instead of what is best for you. I guess after this whole episode, I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. I am here for you to make videos to hopefully make a difference in your life, to get you to think on your own and not just follow the leader. You know, there are people that, you know, will share good information, but at the same token, especially on social media, there are so many people that share information that is not so good. So another thing, I want you guys to be discerning. And if you guys did appreciate this video, hey, please give it a big thumbs up. Also share this with other people in the raw vegan community or other friends and neighbors that you have that should learn that not everything you hear is true, and how to fact check some of these things using ChatGPT. Also, be sure to put your comments down below. I'd love to know what you think about this format, you know, because to me this is just as important as my other videos I make on specific foods or diet and health, because so many people get sucked into incorrect information, which will then set you on the wrong road, and it may be a one-way road to nowhere. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you notice my new and upcoming episodes I've coming every 5 to 7 days. If you know when I show up, what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. And make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as many videos come out. And finally, be sure to check out past episodes. Past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 800 episodes at this time on this channel dedicated to teach you guys all about how to eat a nutrient-dense, minimally processed, mostly raw or all raw, vegan, plant-based diet for your health. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRAW.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.